You're waking up tired, you're going to bed tired, and somewhere in the middle of your day you tell yourself, maybe I didn't sleep enough, but deep down you know that's not it. This isn't physical tiredness. This is a different kind of fatigue, the one that sleep doesn't fix. This is emotional exhaustion. The real reason you're tired isn't because you didn't get 8 hours, it's because you've been carrying the weight of things you won't name. You've been trying to be okay for everyone around you while ignoring what's going on inside of you. You've been pushing through conversations you didn't want to have, meetings that drain you, and tasks that don't align with your values. And it's wearing you down. Emotional fatigue shows up when you're constantly holding yourself together in situations where you're not actually okay, when you're being overly accommodating at work, when you're suppressing your frustration in a relationship, when you're afraid to speak up because it might disrupt the peace. You're not tired because you're lazy. You're tired because you're silently working overtime to keep things from falling apart. And here's the truth, that emotional effort takes just as much, if not more, energy than physical labor. Think about how many times you've walked into a room and instantly shifted your energy to make someone else feel comfortable. That performance, that's energy, that costs you something. Every time you ignore your gut because you don't want to cause drama, you chip away at your own peace. Every time you take on more than you should because you don't want to let anyone down, you sacrifice yourself in the process. The hardest part, most people don't even realize they're emotionally drained. We've normalized being overwhelmed. We've made busy a badge of honor, and somewhere along the way, we stopped asking ourselves what we need and started reacting to what everyone else wants. That's not sustainable. That's not strength. That's survival mode, and survival mode was never meant to be permanent. So what do? You start by getting honest with yourself. Ask the hard question, what's actually draining me right now? And don't settle for the surface level answer. Go deeper. Is it the job, or the pressure you put on yourself in that job? Is it the relationship, or the fact that you're not being fully seen in it? Is it your schedule, or your inability to say no without guilt? Once you get clear on what's pulling your energy, you can start to protect it. That might mean setting boundaries that make people uncomfortable. That might mean having conversations you've been avoiding for years. That might mean releasing roles and expectations that no longer fit who you are or where you're going. But that's how you reclaim your energy. That's how you stop feeling tired all the time. And let's be real, this doesn't happen overnight. It takes courage, it takes repetition, it takes giving yourself permission to prioritize your emotional well-being, even when the world tells you that you're supposed to push through. But if you want to feel alive again, you've got to stop ignoring the signals your body and mind are sending you. Tired is a signal, drained is a warning light. Stop treating it like a character flaw. You deserve to live with clarity. You deserve to wake up feeling fueled, not just by sleep, but by alignment, and that means releasing the emotional weight you were never meant to carry. You're not broken, you're just burned out from being everything to everyone. The energy you're missing isn't hiding in another cup of coffee or a better night's sleep, it's hiding in your unspoken truth. And the moment you start honoring that truth, your energy begins to return. Not all tired is physical, and when you finally stop ignoring the emotional toll you've been paying, you'll realize you were never lazy. You were just tired of pretending everything was fine. You can have 8 hours of sleep, eat clean, work out, and still feel exhausted. Why? Because when your life lacks purpose, your energy drains no matter how healthy your habits are. You wake up without urgency, you move through your day in autopilot, and even though you're doing everything right on paper, nothing inside of you feels right. Purpose is what fuels passion. It's what gives meaning to your effort. Without it, you're just busy checking boxes, completing tasks, going through routines. But all of that effort feels heavy when you don't know why you're doing it. It's like pushing a car with no engine. You can move it with effort, but it won't go far and it won't go fast. When you're disconnected from purpose, everything becomes harder. Decisions feel overwhelming, conversations feel dull, work feels repetitive. Even rest doesn't feel restorative because there's this low, buzzing anxiety beneath it all, like you're wasting time but don't know how to fix it. That inner fatigue starts to grow, and it's not physical. It's spiritual. It's the kind of tired that comes from living out of alignment with who you're meant to be. Most people don't even realize this is what's happening. They think they're just burnt out or overworked. But the truth is, they're uninspired, and inspiration doesn't come from outside. It comes from knowing your direction. It comes from waking up in the morning and knowing that what you're doing matters, that your voice matters, that your actions are building towards something that actually excites you. Lack of purpose creates mental fog. It makes simple things feel complicated. It blurs your ability to focus because your brain is constantly asking, "What's the point?" And if you've been asking yourself that question silently, even subconsciously, for long enough, eventually your body catches up. You start to feel exhausted before your day even begins. That isn't laziness, it's a sign that something deeper needs your attention. You don't need a grand vision right away. You don't need to know exactly where you'll be 5 years from now. But you do need a reason for why you're showing up every day. It can be as small as "I want to grow," or "I want to be better than I was yesterday." Purpose doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be real, because even a small sense of purpose ignites momentum, and momentum gives you energy. Without purpose, discipline feels like punishment, but with purpose, discipline becomes an act of self-respect. The things you used to force yourself to do become things you want to do because they align with who you're becoming. That's the shift. That's what wakes you up, not the number of hours you sleep, but the reason you get out of bed. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes you lose your purpose because you've been chasing someone else's version of success. Maybe you're living a life someone else told you to want. Maybe you're doing what's expected, not what's authentic. That misalignment is draining you, and the longer you ignore it, the louder your fatigue becomes. So if you're tired all the time, don't just look at your physical routine, look at your emotional and mental alignment. Ask yourself, what do I care about? What do I want to build? Who do I want to become? Even if you don't know the full answer, start asking, start exploring, because that exploration is energy. That curiosity is the beginning of clarity. And clarity is what unlocks momentum. The moment you begin to align your daily actions with a deeper why, your energy shifts. You don't have to fake motivation anymore. You don't have to push yourself so hard. When purpose leads, energy follows, always. You keep wondering why you're tired all the time. You assume it's the workload, the long hours, or maybe even your diet. But here's what you're not paying attention to: your boundaries, or rather, your lack of them. The real reason you're drained isn't because you're doing too much. It's because you're doing too much for everyone else and not enough for yourself. Poor boundaries are stealing your energy, slowly and silently. Every time you say yes when you mean no, a part of you gets depleted. It seems small in the moment, agreeing to take that extra task, going to that dinner you don't want to attend, answering that late night call even though you're exhausted. But these choices add up. You don't realize how much energy you're spending trying to meet other people's expectations, manage their emotions, or avoid conflict. That's not kindness. It's self-abandonment dressed up as being helpful. The problem is, we've been conditioned to believe that setting boundaries is rude or selfish, especially if you're someone who prides yourself on being dependable, loyal, and available. So instead of drawing a line, you stretch yourself thinner and thinner until there's nothing left. You feel tired not because life is overwhelming, but because you won't give yourself permission to protect your time and energy. Here's what no one tells you: boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're doors that help you decide who and what gets access to you. And access should be earned, not assumed. When you have no boundaries, you allow anything and everything to enter your space. That constant intrusion keeps your mind overstimulated, your schedule packed, and your emotional state in a constant state of reaction. It's not that you have too many responsibilities, it's that you haven't been clear about which ones are actually yours to carry. You're taking on other people's problems, their urgency, their drama. You're constantly reacting instead of leading. And reaction is exhausting. It keeps you from creating space to think, breathe, or focus on what actually matters to you. Poor boundaries also show up in how you talk to yourself. Every time you guilt trip yourself for resting, for saying no, or for taking a break, you're reinforcing the idea that your worth is tied to how much you give. That belief system is draining. It's why you can take a full weekend off and still feel tired on Monday, because mentally, you never gave yourself permission to actually rest, and then there's the resentment, that creeping frustration that builds every time you show up for someone who doesn't do the same for you. That anger that bubbles when your time is constantly interrupted. Resentment is a sign that your boundaries are being crossed, usually because you haven't communicated them, and resentment is heavy. It weighs on your heart, your mind, and eventually your body. The good news is this can change, but it starts with getting honest. Who or what is consistently draining you? Where are you saying yes out of guilt or fear instead of alignment? What would your schedule look like if you only said yes to the things that truly mattered? You don't need to be harsh, you need to be clear. The people who love and respect you will adjust. The ones who don't were only benefiting from your lack of boundaries in the first place. Reclaiming your energy isn't about doing more, it's about doing less of what doesn't serve you. It's about protecting your time like it's your most valuable resource, because it is. Boundaries give you the space to think, to grow, to rest, and to lead with intention. Without them, you're just reacting to life. With them, you're directing it. If you want to stop feeling tired all the time, stop giving your energy away to everything and everyone by default. Start choosing, start protecting, start showing up for yourself the way you've been showing up for others. Your energy doesn't just need rest. It needs respect, and that begins with boundaries. You might think you're tired because of how much you're doing. The endless to-do lists, back meetings, constant running around. But here's the truth. What's wearing you down isn't the doing, it's the thinking. It's the constant mental chatter, the second guessing, the multitasking, the overanalyzing. Mental clutter is more exhausting than physical work, and you're living proof of that every single day. You could sit at a desk for 8 hours and walk away feeling completely depleted, not because your body was overworked, but because your mind never had a moment of peace. You were thinking about the email you forgot to send, worrying about a conversation that hasn't happened yet, wondering if you said the right thing in that meeting, and trying to make 10 decisions at once while pretending you're fine. That kind of mental chaos is what drains your energy faster than anything else. The weight of indecision alone is enough to make you feel tired. When your brain is juggling multiple open loops, things you started but never finished, tasks you haven't prioritized, relationships you haven't clarified, it has no room to rest. Even when you're not working, your mind is. You're constantly reviewing, rehearsing, regretting, and replaying, and that's not productivity, that's paralysis in disguise. Most people assume they're just busy, but they're really just mentally crowded. They never stop to sort through what actually matters. They say yes to everything, think about everything, try to solve everything, and in the process, end up emotionally and mentally burned out. You don't need more time, you need more clarity. Because clarity cuts through noise, and noise is what's exhausting you. Mental clutter also shows up in your inability to be present. You're having a conversation, but you're thinking about something else. You're spending time with your family, but your brain is stuck on work. You're lying in bed, physically still, but mentally racing through your entire week. This constant split between where you are and where your mind is creates stress, and stress consumes massive amounts of energy. The worst part, you get so used to it, you think it's normal. You think being on all the time is just part of adulting, but it's not. It's dysfunction that's been glamorized. It's a lack of systems, boundaries, and clarity. You weren't designed to carry your entire life in your brain. That's why you feel like you're forgetting something even when you're not. That's why you feel behind even when you're getting things done. Your mind isn't meant to be a storage space for every unfinished task, unresolved conversation, and unclear priority. So, how do you clear the mental clutter? Start by writing it all down. Don't keep it in your head, get it out. Make a list, journal, voice memo, anything that turns mental weight into visible words. Once you see it in front of you, it's no longer swirling around in your brain. Then ask yourself, what can I delete, delegate, or delay? Not everything needs your attention right now, and some things never did. Next, create structure. When your day has no clear start, no clear plan, and no clear end, your mind stays on constantly. Set work hours. Set thinking hours. Set rest hours. Give your mind the gift of focus by limiting what it has to hold at any given time. Multitasking is a lie. It's just switching attention rapidly and exhausting your brain in the process. And finally, protect your mental space like your energy depends on it, because it does. Unfollow accounts that clutter your feed with drama. Say no to conversations that spiral into negativity. Stop engaging in things that don't align with your values or your goals. Your mental clarity is a non-negotiable if you want to live with energy and intention. It's not your body that's worn out, it's your mind that's overwhelmed. Clear the clutter, choose clarity, give your thoughts room to breathe. And you'll find energy where you didn't even know it was hiding. There's a kind of tired that doesn't come from overworking. It comes from being underchallenged. You wake up feeling sluggish, not because you didn't get enough sleep, but because you're mentally unengaged. You go through your day with low energy, not because you're burned out, but because you're bored. And boredom is just as draining as burn out. It's quiet, it's sneaky, and it's dangerous because it tricks you into thinking you're doing fine. When you're actually slowly checking out of your own life, the truth is we are wired to grow. We thrive when we're expanding, learning, stretching, and stepping into something slightly outside our comfort zone. But when your day becomes predictable, when your tasks feel repetitive, and when nothing requires your full attention or effort, you start to flatline emotionally. You start counting hours instead of making moments count. You start living on autopilot, and that's exhausting. You might not feel stressed, but you do feel disconnected. You go through the motions, but nothing lights you up. The same job, the same schedule, the same surface-level conversations. You're not overwhelmed, you're uninspired, and that lack of stimulation creates fatigue because you're not using your full potential. You're capable of more, and your body knows it, your mind knows it, and your energy reflects it. Think about it. When was the last time you were so focused on something that time disappeared? When was the last time you felt proud of yourself for doing something hard? That spark you felt in those moments, that's what you're missing. You don't need more rest, you need more challenge, not chaos, not burnout. Growth, there's a difference. The challenge doesn't have to be massive. It could be learning a new skill, starting a side project, initiating a difficult conversation, setting a bold goal, or pushing yourself to lead in a new way. What matters is that you stretch beyond what's familiar. Growth activates energy, challenge creates momentum. When you rise to meet something new, your brain engages, your creativity kicks in, and suddenly you're awake again. The danger of staying too comfortable for too long is that it makes you forget what you're capable of. You settle, you shrink, you play small. Not because you want to, but because nothing around you is asking you to rise. And here's where the internal conflict starts. Deep down, you know you're built for more. But nothing in your environment is calling that version of you out. So you start to feel stuck, restless, and tired, for no apparent reason. This is where self-leadership matters. If no one's challenging you, you have to challenge yourself. You have to raise your own bar. Waiting for someone else to come in and push you will keep you stagnant. You're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you've been doing the same thing for too long. You've outgrown it, and now it's time to stretch. Ask yourself, where am I coasting? Where am I underperforming just because no one's expecting more? What would excite me, even if it also scares me a little? Boredom often masks as comfort, but underneath it is the desire for something deeper, something more fulfilling, and that desire will keep pulling at you until you answer it. You're not lazy, you're not unmotivated. You're just not challenged, and that's a problem you can solve. You don't have to wait for a new job, a new environment, or a new opportunity. You can create challenge, you can choose it, because challenge is what wakes you up. It's what brings the fire back. It's what makes you feel alive again. So if you're tired and nothing seems wrong, look at your level of engagement. Look at how often you're stretching. Look at how often you're proud of the way you show up. That's your signal. The energy you're missing isn't in more sleep, it's in the next level of yourself you've been avoiding.